Hello everyone. Today we are going to delve into one of the most intriguing and fascinating archaeological discoveries in the history of mankind, the famous Qumran scrolls. These ancient manuscripts were found in 1947 in caves near the Dead Sea and have since aroused the curiosity of researchers, religious people, and history enthusiasts. But what exactly do these documents reveal? Do they corroborate the information we already have about the biblical texts? Or do they bring new perspectives and unexpected revelations? Let's explore these questions together. What are the Qumran scrolls? The Qumran scrolls, also called the Dead Sea Scrolls, consist of an impressive collection of more than 900 ancient documents. They were discovered between 1947 and 1956 in 11 caves located near the archaeological site of Qumran in the Judean Desert, a region near the Dead Sea. These manuscripts are considered to be some of the most significant archaeological discoveries of the 20th century, as they provide a unique and detailed insight into the religious, cultural, and historical life of ancient Judaism, as well as offering valuable insights into the context of the emergence of Christianity. The discovery of these manuscripts happened quite by chance. In 1947, a young Bedouin shepherd named Muhammad ed-Dib was searching for a lost goat when he came across a cave filled with ceramic jars. Inside these jars, he found several ancient scrolls. These early manuscripts were sold to antiquities dealers and later attracted the attention of archaeologists and scholars. Over the years, other caves were explored, revealing hundreds of additional manuscripts. The Essene community. The Qumran scrolls are believed to have been written and preserved by a Jewish group known as the Essenes. This community lived in isolation in the desert near where the manuscripts were found. The Essenes were known for their simple and ascetic lifestyle, their rigorous dedication to Jewish law, the Torah, and their apocalyptic expectations for the future. The members of this community lived collectively, sharing their possessions and performing frequent purification rituals. They were celibate and devoted most of their time to studying and copying sacred texts. They believed in an imminent cosmic battle between the forces of good and evil, and expected the coming of one or more messiahs who would bring justice and redemption to the world. The contents of the manuscripts. The Qumran manuscripts are extremely varied in their content. Approximately 40% of them are copies of books of the Old Testament, including all the books except Esther. One of the most famous is the Great Isaiah Scroll, which contains a nearly complete version of the book of Isaiah and is notable for its striking similarity to the biblical text we know today. In addition, many of the manuscripts include commentaries on biblical texts, known as Pesharim. These commentaries interpret the scriptures in light of the beliefs and expectations of the Qumran community, especially with regard to apocalyptic and messianic events. Other documents describe the rules, rituals, and beliefs of the community. Notable among these are the Manual of Discipline, or Community Rule, which details how members were to live, and the War Scroll, which describes a cosmic battle between the sons of light and the sons of darkness. The languages of the manuscripts. The Qumran scrolls were written primarily in three languages: Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek. Hebrew was the sacred language of Judaism, used in most biblical and religious texts. Aramaic, which was the language spoken by many Jews at the time, appears in texts such as the Book of Enoch and the Apocryphon of Genesis. Greek, present in a few manuscripts, reflects the influence of Hellenistic culture in the region. The importance of the Qumran scrolls. The Qumran scrolls have profound significance for several reasons. First, they provide the oldest known copies of many biblical texts, confirming that the scriptures were transmitted with great accuracy over the centuries. In addition, they offer a unique insight into Judaism during the Second Temple period, which runs from the 6th century BC to the 1st century AD, revealing the diversity of religious beliefs and practices of the time. Many scholars also identify parallels between the beliefs of the Essenes and those of early Christianity, such as the messianic expectation and the idea of a new covenant with God. Some texts, such as the Vision of Amram and the Copper Scroll, continue to generate debate and theories among scholars and enthusiasts due to their enigmatic and mysterious content. Interesting facts about the manuscripts. One of the most intriguing manuscripts is the copper scroll, made of this metal, which describes the location of a hidden treasure. To this day, this treasure has never been found, which fuels the imagination of many. Many of the manuscripts were found in fragments, and scholars have spent decades reconstructing them, as if they were pieces of a giant puzzle. In addition, technological advances, such as multispectral imaging, have been used to decipher texts that were damaged or illegible, allowing new information to be revealed. This archaeological discovery continues to fascinate and challenge our understanding of the past, offering new insights into the religious and cultural history of humanity. The biblical texts. One of the most fascinating aspects of the Qumran scrolls is that they preserve the oldest texts of the Old Testament ever discovered. For example, there are nearly complete versions of the book of Isaiah, which bear a striking resemblance to the editions of the Bible that we use today. This demonstrates that, over the centuries, the sacred texts were copied and transmitted with a remarkable level of accuracy. Similarity. Most of the biblical texts found at Qumran are virtually identical to modern versions, which reinforces confidence in the faithfulness of the transmission of these writings over time. Difference. However, there are small variations, such as slightly different words or phrases, which may reflect different interpretations or traditions of the time. Apocryphal books and extra-biblical texts. In addition to the books that make up the traditional biblical canon, the Qumran scrolls also include texts that were not incorporated into the sacred scriptures. These are known as apocryphal or pseudepigraphic books, such as the Book of Enoch and the Testament of the 12 Patriarchs. Similarity. These texts share similar themes and styles to those of the Bible, such as prophecies, visions, and teachings of a moral nature. Difference. They were not considered inspired by the religious authorities who defined the biblical canon, but they do offer a rich and intriguing insight into the beliefs and practices of the time. The vision of Amram and other unique narratives. Among the most intriguing texts found at Qumran is the vision of Amram, which recounts a supernatural revelation given to Amram, the father of Moses. This text is not part of the Bible, but it expands the biblical narrative in a dramatic and engaging way. Similarity. The story connects directly with biblical tradition, mentioning familiar figures such as Moses and Aaron. Difference. The vision of Amram includes mystical and apocalyptic details not found in the Bible, showing how biblical stories could be reinterpreted or expanded. Religious rules and practices. The Qumran scrolls also contain texts that detail the rules and practices of the community responsible for their creation. A notable example is the Manual of Discipline, which describes how members of the sect should live, including purification rituals and rules of conduct. Similarity. Many of these practices reflect the values and laws present in the Old Testament, such as the importance of purity and obedience to God. Difference. However, some rules are extremely specific and rigorous, revealing a more radical and ascetic interpretation of biblical laws, messianic prophecies, and expectations in the Qumran scrolls. The Qumran scrolls reveal that the community that produced them, probably the Essenes, harbored a strong messianic expectation. They believed in the coming of one or more messiahs who would bring justice, redemption, and restore divine order. This expectation was central to their worldview and profoundly influenced their religious and social life. The Qumran community lived in a period marked by political and religious turmoil. Judea was under foreign rule, first by the Greeks and then by the Romans, and many Jews awaited divine intervention to free them from oppression. For the Essenes, this hope manifested itself in the belief in one or more messiahs who would fulfill divine promises and establish a kingdom of justice and peace. The Essenes' messianic expectation was aligned with the prophecies of the Old Testament, especially in books such as Isaiah and Daniel. For example, Isaiah 11 describes a Messiah from the line of David who would bring universal justice and peace. Daniel 7 speaks of a Son of Man who would receive divine authority to rule the world. These prophecies were interpreted by the Essenes as promises that would be fulfilled in the near future, especially in a context of crisis and persecution. Dualism and revelation. The Qumran texts often present a dualistic view of the world, where the forces of good, led by God, and the forces of evil, led by Belial or Satan, were in constant conflict. They believed that the coming of the Messiah would mark the beginning of a final cosmic battle that would result in the victory of good over evil. Multiple messiahs. Unlike the traditional view of a single messiah, some Qumran texts suggest the expectation of 2 or even 3 messiahs. Priestly messiah, from the lineage of Aaron, who would restore worship in the temple. A royal messiah, from the lineage of David, who would lead politically and militarily. In some texts, there is mention of a messianic prophet, similar to Moses, who would bring new divine revelations. Focus on purity and separation. The Essenes believed that only a pure community separated from the world could receive the Messiah. For this reason, they lived in isolation in the desert, following strict rules of purity and devotion. The War Scroll, one of the most emblematic Qumran texts on the messianic theme, is the War Scroll, or the War of the Sons of Light against the Sons of Darkness. This manuscript describes an epic battle between the Sons of Light, the Qumran community and their allies, and the Sons of Darkness, God's enemies. The battle would be led by the Messiah and would last for 40 years with direct intervention by angels and divine forces. In the end, good would triumph, and the kingdom of God would be established on earth. This apocalyptic vision reflects the Essenes' belief that the world was on the verge of a radical transformation led by the Messiah. Parallels with early Christianity. Many scholars have identified parallels between the messianic expectations of the Essenes and the beliefs of early Christianity. For example, the idea of a suffering Messiah who would confront evil and bring salvation is echoed in some passages of the Qumran scrolls. The concept of a new covenant between God and his people, present in the Qumran texts, also appears in the New Testament. However, while Christians believed that Jesus was the expected Messiah, the Essenes continued to await his coming. Conclusion. The Qumran scrolls offer a fascinating insight into how messianic prophecies were interpreted and lived in ancient Judaism. They show that the expectation of a Messiah was not uniform, but varied according to the beliefs and contexts of each group. In addition, the Qumran texts reveal how biblical traditions were reinterpreted and expanded to respond to the crises and hopes of each era. This wealth of interpretations continues to inspire studies and reflections on the role of messianism in religious history. What do you think? Do the Qumran scrolls change the way we understand the Bible? Leave your opinion, and don't forget to share this content for more reflections like this. Until next time.